Hey friends, welcome back to the Bald Booktuber. My name is Scott, and today we're going to be doing a book review on the book Speaks the Nightbird by Robert McCammon. This will be completely spoiler-free, so you don't have to worry about being spoiled for any part of it. We will talk briefly about the synopsis, but nothing you wouldn't see on the dust cover or whatnot. This is my third McCammon book. All have been outstanding, and this has been my favorite of the three. So he is quickly moving to the top of my favorite authors. Started last December with Swan Song, sort of a post-apocalyptic, nuclear weapons, and kind of leveling everything and how people survived in that post-apocalyptic wasteland, similar in many ways to The Stand by Stephen King. Most people that enjoy one of the novels will like the other and vice versa. Perfect book, awesome. And then also that month I read Boy's Life, which is a fantastic coming-of-age story. There is some truly wonderful, almost feels like fairy tale fantasy type of elements as we see a young boy coming to age in Mississippi. Wonderful book, highly recommend. And then we have the current book that we'll be talking about today. So Speaks the Nightbird is my favorite of the three, which I didn't assume was going to be possible, but here we are. It will be my book of the month in June. Likely will be one of the finalists for my book of the year, kind of depending on later books in this series, if I like them more than this one, which is possible. I will be reading the entire series now that I have enjoyed this one so much. The name of the series is the Matthew Corbett Mysteries, or Matthew Corbett series. And kind of the synopsis behind this book is that Corbett is a young man in his early 20s in kind of late 17th, early 18th century, kind of pre-America. So kind of the settlement phase when everything was still kind of colonial and the Revolutionary War hadn't happened yet and these kinds of things. Its setting takes place in the Carolinas, specifically current day South Carolina, in a, I believe, fictionalized town. I don't know that this town even exists, but it's called Fount Royal. That's the name of the settlement. It's very close to present day Charleston. They talk about kind of traveling to and fro Charleston, within the span of a day, by carriage and whatnot. So probably within, I don't know, 20 or 30 miles, something like that. And the idea is that Corbett is this young man in his early 20s. He's an apprentice magistrate to Isaiah Woodward, who is the actual magistrate. And their role and responsibility in this story is to travel to this small settlement where there have been accusations of witchcraft and heresy and murder to this young woman named Rachel Howarth. So Rachel is a young, dark-skinned Portuguese woman who was married to a much older man in the settlement. The husband gets murdered. One of the religious leaders in the town gets murdered, and others do as well. And Rachel's being held to await kind of the magistrate's decisioning on if she is a witch, and if she is, what that punishment will be, what type of execution really it will be. So that's kind of where we find ourselves at the start of it, and kind of what the book is about. It takes place 7 years after the actual Salem witch trials. So it takes place in 1799. Those took place in 1792. And they are referenced throughout the text, which I think is pretty cool. They reference books about the Salem witch trials. They reference the trials themselves, these kinds of things. So it's a unique kind of footnote to the story, I think, and adds some character to it. So that's kind of the setting. That's what it's about. That's where we pick up the story at. So gives you an idea of what the book is. Then we'll talk a little bit about each of the primary characters in the book. I'm by far a character reader. That's what I enjoy most in stories. So when the characters can speak to me, that usually is a good sign that I will enjoy the book. So we'll start with Matthew Corbett himself. He is our primary point of view character. Obviously, the series is named after him specifically. What I like about Matthew is that he is about truth and justice above all other considerations. So where the entire town, and really in many ways the magistrate is convinced of Rachel's guilt, he is always fighting and championing her as someone that was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. Because it's written so cleverly, at times it's hard to tell whether he's just infatuated with her or whether he truly believes she's innocent. In general, we tend to want Matthew to win. We tend to expect that what he believes is the truth because of that theme of truth and justice and his willingness to seek it out at all costs. He does have several setbacks and several failures throughout the novel, which only adds to, our, or at least my likeness for him and ability to kind of keep going in the face of adversity, tough word. So that's what I like about Matthew. I am really looking forward to kind of following his story throughout the next, I guess it's will be 7 novels here soon. The 8th one is just awaiting publish in a few days here, June 28th it'll be out, so. All right, and then we have Isaac Woodward, his guardian, his mentor, the magistrate, and I really like Isaac. He is kind of devoted to neatness and cleanliness and order and having everything in the right place at the right time. There are some really, really good conversations between him and Matthew about, not falling into darkness or falling into treachery and these kinds of things, and about how it's never easy to pass judgment on another individual or to certainly to take their life. He sees it as kind of a difficult thing that someone has to do, but he's taken up the call, and he hopes Matthew does too, to do the right thing even when it's hard. So I really like Isaac. He's a good character. He has kind of his journey throughout the book as well, which again I won't spoil. But seeing kind of the almost a father-son dynamic between them is really, really good. He essentially adopted Matthew as a younger man, and they've been working together for I think 5 years, something like that. So really good. We then move on to Rachel Howarth. She is the accused here, obviously. She's very feared by the townsfolk. She's despised. Robert Bidwell, who's kind of the mayor, for lack of a better word, the character we'll talk about next, just wants the show on the road. He wants, let's make our determination about Rachel. Let's determine she is a witch. Let's execute her. Let's move on. We need to grow this town. We need to, move on with life. And that seems to be a sentiment of many of the people that are still remaining in Fount Royal. Many of them have left because of fear and just the difficult goings on in the town. But she's a complex character. At times, it feels like she's manipulating Matthew. Other times, it feels like she is, clearly just the victim here, that it was in the wrong place at the wrong time. But I really like her character too. She is a good, I guess, kind of reminder of how important it is to, see everybody's side and to not go in with predestined, I guess, decisions about someone, those kinds of things. And then we have Robert Bidwell, who is, like I said, kind of the mayor of the town. He's the founder of the settlement, these kinds of things. He he's an interesting fellow in that much of the time you feel yourself, or I did, really despising the guy. Um, and I feel like he had somewhat of a redemption arc as the novel went along, but when we first meet him and kind of as we go, um, really hard to get behind some of the things that he says and does and these kinds of things. I don't think that he is a bad person. And I think in general, the number of truly bad people in the book is relatively minimum. There are some, and the number of truly, truly great people is pretty minimum. I think I would reserve that just for really Matthew and Isaac, but more great characters than otherwise. But yeah, I like Robert. He really just wants his town to flourish, is what it really boils down to. He's sunk a lot of money, a lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of resources, a lot of people into making this place work, and it isn't working. The population has contracted significantly over the last several months and year, and he really just wants these magistrates to come in and clean things up and get things back to a manageable place where he could grow his town. So it's hard to fault him too much for that. What are some of the reasons I love it so much? So I think, as I mentioned, for one thing, his character work, Robert McCammon's character work, is really, really good. If you enjoy someone like Stephen King, who can do big character work with a medium to big cast, I think you'll be happy. I think that, kind of condensing people into one very small, unique setting can be difficult, but he does it very, very well. I like that there's some actual history smattered in, the Salem witch trials and these kinds of things. He never beats you over the head with it. You don't feel like you're reading a history book, but at the same time, I particularly like some of those references to so-and-so said this in his book about the Salem witch trials. I thought that stuff was cool and probably worth delving into a little further. I also love that I really connected with Matthew. I think that, it's one of the central themes throughout the book is truth and justice, and ensuring that people that actually do wrong are punished for it, and people that are accused of doing wrong get a fair hearing and fair trial and are not punished for the wrongdoing. So I think probably more than any other character I've read recently, he is singly devoted to the truth and making sure that happens. And just in general, he's a young man trying to make his way in the world, and was an orphan and these kinds of things, and just an easy guy to root for. Why other people might love it. I gave my reasons why I do. What are some reasons you might love it? If you like whodunit mysteries, this is a good one for you. You're always kind of thinking along with the author and with his characters about, well, if she isn't guilty, who is? Who are the perpetrators? What's really going on in this town? So I like that feature of it. I think you would too. The love story in it is really good, so I'll let you read about that and find out for yourself. I'm not a big love story guy, but that was very good. McCammon's writing is beautiful. It is very lyrical. I like it a lot. I'm a prose snob, I've been told, and his stuff reads just like butter. I really, really like it. All 3 books I've read now, I've felt like have been very well laid out in terms of just their lyrical nature. So that's good. And just in general, if you are wanting to get into historical fiction, this would be a great place to start, especially if you've read Swan Song and or Boy's Life. If you enjoy his writing already, I think you're really going to dig this. And then just very quickly, we will cover the narration, as I always do on this channel. This was narrated by Eduardo Ballerini, who is an individual I have had none, I've not listened to him. I had never heard of him prior to this, and he is exceptional in this story. The names, the characters have unique voices. You can tell easily who's who, with or without dialogue tags, and his narration definitely brings that to life. He brings emotion to it. I love it. I think he is fantastic, and I'll be doing the entire series immersively, both because I want to read the prose and because I want to listen to Eduardo Ballerini. And then just real quickly, to wrap it up here, I wanted to do just a couple of quick passages from the book so you have an idea of the writing style and kind of what you're in for the prose. So let me read a couple passages here for you. So Matthew was aware that these thoughts might spear his head with lightning on a cloudless night, but the paradox of man was the fact that one might have been in the image of God, yet it was often the most devilish of ideas that gave action and purpose to the human breed. I think that's a really cool passage. This one I love. What is the point of life if truth is not worth standing up for? If justice is a hollow shell? If beauty and grace are burnt to ashes and evil rejoices in the flames? Shall I weep on that day and lose my mind, or join the rejoicing and lose my soul? Very cool. And then this is just kind of why the book is named Speaks the Nightbird, and kind of goes back to this passage and a couple similar ones, but this is one of my favorites. It's not enough to love the Nightbird's song. One must love the Nightbird, and one must eventually fall in love with the night itself. Rachel Howarth is your Nightbird, Matthew. I'd be no guardian if I saw you in danger of being consumed by the darkness and failed to warn you. That is obviously Isaac Woodward talking to Matthew Corbett. Fantastic line. And that's really all today. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you'll check it out. I will probably be starting book 2, Queen of Bedlam, here within the week. I can't wait to keep going with the series. It'll be interesting to see where it goes. All I know is that it's named after Matthew, the series itself, and it kind of follows his journey. I don't know what goes from here, so I kind of went into this one a little bit blind on the synopsis, other than knowing it was Salem witch trials related or adjacent, and I'm happy that I didn't know much. I'm going to go into the others kind of the same way, not really knowing much. So I think they're probably all self-contained, but maybe they build off each other too. I'm not sure, but we will find out. And I thank you for sticking around. I know many of you are new to the channel. Special thank you to my friend Johanna, who did a very nice shout out for me on her channel recently. We have grown about 10% in subscriber count just in the time since that video shot, so I truly, truly appreciate it. Thanks for giving me a chance. If you're new here, please hit that like button, hit the subscribe option if you're not already subscribed, and please hit the bell notifications so you are notified when I make a new video. We will talk to you soon.